if Kyron Williams can get a goal line attempt, I think he's going to score in this game, even if it's something like 20 for 70. So there's my argument for him at least being inside the top 10, maybe not top 5.
Well, no, yeah, top 10, top 5. I've processed your argument. I'm looking at the list right now to figure out where to slot him because I thought it was a pretty compelling argument. So I will do that right now. There we go. Happy number 1.
Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by DraftKings. Week 13 rankings, debate by position. You can use the show index to skip position by position, or just hit the description, find the links to the rankings, and you can see what the final results for at least this conversation are going to be. They will be updated every single day throughout the week, so you don't have to worry about that. Maybe on Thursday, you check back in, see if anything's changed. Then on Sunday, you do the same thing. That's really, Jake, the 2 times that you need to do it.
It's funny, though. People want to set their lineup. Still, it's a must-win week. Every single week when we get to this point is must-win. You know what? We talk about our second win that you and I always need right around this time. I just need a second win from, would you really start blank, blank, blank? And like, no, I give you the rankings just to screw around with you. That's not who I would start.
I stopped answering people's questions like on Twitter like years ago.
Years ago?
Yeah, but just
these aren't even on Twitter. Oh. These are in the comments of The Athletic.
See, you're paid to do that, so you have to interact with those people. Yeah, but the would you start people? I would just tell them like, no, I'm fucking with you, and then just never respond again.
I don't know. I gotta keep my job there, Pat.
Oh yeah, that's true. I keep forgetting that you need to keep your job. I guess I pay myself, so that means I'm allowed to keep my job and act like an asshole the entire time.
I know you have it made, man.
I know. I apologize to all of you viewers and listeners. Last week we did not do a show for the first time in 9 years because I had COVID and you had strep throat, so we weren't in the best position to be talking for an hour.
I know. I was sitting at the doctor's office being tested when you texted me and said, I'm super ill, I'm not going to be able to do it. I was like, well, that works because I'm at the doctor's.
Yeah, even if I...
But see, that's how good we are. After 9 years, Pat, we're so good, we timed it out together to be the same week.
We're always making out, so that probably makes some sense.
Shh. Don't tell everybody the secrets.
Yeah, don't tell anyone, all right? Listeners League down in the description as well. RunTheSims.com. The Prop Sniper has been hot fire. $12 per month if you use code, or per week, sorry, if you use code MAYO at checkout. So I would highly recommend that if you enjoy getting into the prop game. All right, let's jump in to the running back injuries. Before we kick everything off, Donta Foreman is expected out for Monday Night Football, so maybe he'll return in a week's time. Actually, not a week's time, 2 weeks' time. They have the bye next week. Aaron Jones missed week number 12, as did Ken Walker, Devin Achane, and Jerick McKinnon. All missed last week. We'll see what their status is going to be for week number 13. I put Achane in the rankings. The other ones are out for the moment. But, Jake, this is my promise to you, and you, the good people out there. If they're playing, I'll put them in the rankings.
You promise? You promise? When you get the questions, these are the ones I get in The Athletic. If plays, where would he rank? Where would the other one rank if he doesn't?
You know what? Maybe not. Maybe I won't even do that. Maybe I'll just fuck with people again.
Just leave him down and create what you have worst place. Maybe just something else.
Yeah,
just place.
I
put him in a place.
I legitimately haven't had worst place in my rankings in like 6 years.
I miss it. People miss it. That was always fun.
I don't think people are looking at these rankings as much as they used to do. Those rankings used to get like 200,000 hits a week, and now just like people do not care.
I know. I think the biggest thing is kind of why I shifted over in The Athletic to like game previews to avoid some of those questions. Even last week I said, if Achane is out, then Jeff Wilson would be here. And so because they're looking for more of this than just like you always say it all the time. What the hell? Like 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, whoop-de-freaking do. Like, what does it actually mean?
Yeah. Well, let's go 1, 2, 3. And then in the rest of them, 4, 5, 6, I believe follows that. And we'll list them off in order and we'll argue about it like we do every single time. Running back rankings for week number 13. CMC, Christian McCaffrey comes in at number 1. Travis Etienne, Kamara, Eckler, Jonathan Taylor, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Raheem Mostert. That is with Achane and Achane at number 14 for reference at the moment. We'll talk about that one. Pacheco, Bejan, Robinson, Rashad White, Javonte Williams, Kyron Williams, Devin Achane, Ramondre Stevenson, Tony Pollard, Brees Hall, DeAndre Swift, Brian Robinson, Derrick Henry, Zach Charbonnet without, Ken Walker, Jalen Warren, Najee Harris, back-to-back in the ranks, and Jerome Ford at number 24 with Joe Mixon at number 25. I think we can start with Mixon at number 25. As we saw against the Steelers and Jake Browning under center, I don't think they're going to be up in a lot of games. And if they're not up in a lot of games, they have decided we ain't running.
And that's a really good point. I would say he's in the same conversation, but even worse than Saquon Barkley, because at least Saquon Barkley gets the passing game work. It was ugly against the Patriots. I don't think you can really argue to put Joe Mixon higher. I was looking for ones to argue higher or lower. That was one that I noticed that I'm like, makes sense. I think most of the people in front of him you can't risk. And you can even make an argument when we'll talk next week about where Saquon Barkley should fall in this kind of conversation. There is one that I did think should be higher, and not even a second thought in my mind, Kyren Williams deserves to be top 10, if not top 5.
Does he?
Yes. Go back to his game log. I brought this up with Meanie on All in Football last week, and here's his weekly finishes before he got hurt. 7-4, 26 is the low mark against Cincinnati. 30 is the lowest, and that's against Philly. 2, and now he finished number 1 as of right now. So 7-4, 26, 3, 30, 2, 1. That 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, and then a 30 and 26. You know what kind of running backs have that kind of stat line outside of Christian McCaffrey? The Barkleys, the Ecklers, the Bijan. Bijan doesn't even have that good of a mark. Like, Tony Pollard doesn't have that good of a mark. Who else you got back? I'm looking back at your rankings. Who's that? Jahmyr Gibbs doesn't have that kind of run. This is Travis Etienne. There's one. The only one that's really in this conversation. And now that Jonathan Taylor is back to being Jonathan Taylor, it's top 5. They're just going to use him. The only reason Royce Freeman even had work in that is because they were destroying them in that game.
Oh, I'm not concerned about the usage. I mean, I had Williams inside my top 6 last week, and he was like the DraftKings play. Everyone knew that, but this week against Cleveland, it's just he's in this mix with a bunch of guys that touch
Cleveland anymore.
I'm scared of Cleveland in terms of the running game. Like Jamal Williams had 88 carries on Sunday, and he was like, okay.
The thing with this Cleveland is that you just talked about part of it. So we're going back to probably PJ Walker again, right? Mm-hmm. So there's that up in the air, and the offense can't move the ball. Pirine and Williams, Javonte had 18 for 65. Pirine 7 for 55. 25 carries for 100 and something yards. The week before that, Jalen Warren went off against them on only 9 carries, which I'm not saying that's going to continue, but you combine that with Najee Harris for 21 for over 150, and then you go back to Baltimore. I want to get too hung up on that. Arizona, not too hung up on that. Walker and Charbonnet combined for 13 carries for over 100 yards. They're not as scary as they look on paper for some of the people that they've missed. I think the biggest thing is that why I like Kyren Williams, this is something, even just say it's going to take 20 carries to get 70 yards. Like, let's even just say that. Something I dug into as well, the Cleveland Browns are a weird team, is that they don't let a lot of goal-to-go drives happen. But until 2 weeks ago, they were allowing 100% of them to end in a touchdown. It's like they just fall apart once they get to the 10-yard line. So if Kyren Williams can get a goal line attempt, I think he's going to score in this game, even if it's something like 20 for 70. So there's my argument for him at least being inside the top 10, maybe not top 5.
Well, no, you had top 10, top 5. I've processed your argument. I'm looking at the list right now to figure out where to slot him because I thought it was a pretty compelling argument. So I will do that right now. There we go. Happy number 1.
I missed you, Pat. I missed you after 1 week.
Number 6, does that sound good to you?
I would actually play him over Montgomery. Yeah, I was going to say split up the Lions.
All right, I'll do that. Oh, I fucked with the formatting of the entire thing. There we go. Yeah. He's number 7. How about that?
There you go. That's a happy medium between 5 and 10. 7.5.
All right,
there you go.
There we are. Mostert. I have A-Chain in. If A-Chain is out against the Commanders, how high up would you move him from 9?
Number 1. Number 2? He's right there with ETN. We saw what happened last week. Remember the panic everybody had until halftime, and then that second half happened? That's what's going to happen every single week with this Dolphins offense, especially against the Commanders. Honestly, 2 touchdowns. Got to see what that kind of line is going to be in Vegas if there is no H-Chan. So, yes, he's definitively top 5, and I wouldn't even think twice about that one. I'd play him over Kyren Williams in that case.
Oh, yeah. Can you go higher than number 1, I guess is the question then?
We're going to have 4 guys ranked right ahead of Christian McCaffrey. Pre-draft or pre-ranks.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, you got to watch out for that pre-rank. It'll still get you pregnant. But ETN, at one point yesterday, ETN had 11 carries for 10 yards. He just did not look good at all. He hurt his chest. He went to the blue medical tent.
Yeah.
And then he came back. He actually looked good in the fourth quarter. But this has been in 2 games in a row for the Jags now that Lawrence has stolen touchdowns near the 1-yard line. Don't like that.
I don't like that either. I was going to say that the interesting thing is I don't know what they did in the blue medical tent, and they like shot him with the cortisone. I don't know, are you allowed to do that in mid-game? But yeah, he definitely looked better when he came out of the blue medical tent. I have some concerns. You brought that up. This Dearness Johnson over the past couple of weeks. We probably would have talked about that last week. But Dearness Johnson stepped in front of Bigsby and has become kind of he's stealing some as well. And at least the problem with Dearness Johnson isn't at the goal line. He seems to be stealing it between the 20s, but
Yeah,
there's still some
but-
lost touches.
but-
I think you could argue ETN should be a little bit lower. Sorry.
I don't think so, because even though Dearness Johnson is still getting into the mix, it hasn't really affected the overall workload of ETN. What do you have, 24 touches yesterday?
Yeah, but against Cincinnati, like
And Cincinnati's the worst run defense in football.
it is. But like, okay, so maybe people do it to us all the time. Like maybe I'm galaxy braining this and saying why give him 20 plus touches against the Bengals?
Because they do every week.
That's kind of like okay. I mean, there's the simple answer. It was just my thought of you brought up the Trevor Lawrence at the goal line. Dearness Johnson's getting some touches. Why run ETN into the ground? They have playoff aspirations. They're leading the division. So why not make sure he's healthy? Again, maybe just me, galaxy brain. You're not sitting ETN. We're nitpicking whether or not he should be number 2.
Yeah, I guess the one that I would have the most problems with, like, Kamara seems like he's going to find a way to get there every single week, be it through the passing game, scoring a touchdown. It's actually Eckler that I'm kind of not concerned about, but he just kind of sucks.
I don't, he still doesn't look right. The Chargers don't look right.
Were
Nothing's
you
going
Hank
right
Hill?
with this team.
That boy don't look right.
I actually never watched much of that show, so I knew the reference. I didn't. I didn't watch like. You gonna damn it, Bobby me?
No.
See, at least I know that.
Oh, there you go. That's not bad. I mean, having a keen awareness of things that you've never seen, pop culture wise. I mean, that's kind of the key.
I say
right
never
there.
seen. I said seen a lot of it. There you go.
But with
start to
ETN,
finish.
they are taking away from his workload because they're not giving him 35 touches a game now. And honest to God, like if Dearness Johnson is available in your league, I don't care whether you have ETN or not, go get him. Like he could be a week 16, 17 playoff winner for you right now if anything happens to ETN, because it's not going to be the terrible Tank Bigsby. He sucks.
No, Dearness Johnson should be in the conversation. I'm kind of looking at these other ones like if HN had a season-ending injury, Jeff Wilson would be in that conversation. Tyler Algier right now, even though
that
they're on a bye.
that I don't know, and they're not on bye. They're playing the Jets this week. The Falcons are.
Why am I thinking they're on the bye?
I don't think that Algier's role changes at all if anything happened to Robinson. I think they would just use Cordero Patterson basically the same as they do with Bijan right now. Like, I don't think they have a rhyme or reason to what they want to do.
No, I think Algier's carries go up. That's what it goes to.
Maybe
we saw last year. He was top 15.
Maybe slightly, but I think that they just listen. If you have Algier and you have Bijan and you're splitting them anyway, I don't think it would all just go to Algier. Clearly, they like the idea of having different looks and using different backs. Plus, Ritter's going to run the ball 18 times a game now because they don't want him to pass.
Right, but so what I was going to say is you're not wrong about still sharing. I don't think Algier is going to be a bell cow. I'm just bringing in the conversation of like these are the higher, like Rico Dowdle, the higher end if something were to happen, guys. Like you're not putting Matt Breida into this conversation if something happened to Saquon Barkley, but looking at their schedule going forward is part of the reason I think Algier is in play anyway, just like Dearness Johnson, because outside of Tampa Bay, which they get in week 14, this week they get the Jets, which everybody runs on the Jets this year, and then they get Tampa Bay, Carolina, Indianapolis, Chicago. That's one of the best schedules. And why I bring that up is because Atlanta runs a hell of a lot more when they're close or up in games. That slate basically says they should be close or up in a lot of those games, even against Tampa Bay, but Tampa Bay's run defense is a problem.
I'm curious to see what the Jets defense does this week to stop the run. Because like you said, short dump off and running is where they've been getting gashed. But with a lot of teams that they've played, they actually have a pretty good aerial assault. So they've had to commit the resources, be it Sauce or Reed or whoever it is, to taking away the passing threat, because that's really the most damning thing, the most pressing thing to try to limit teams. They kind of let them have the running game just because you can only move the ball so much. And we saw eventually when you have a team that's good at both, like the Dolphins, eventually the cracks start to happen. Atlanta can't pass. Like, they might just put sauce on Drake London and be like, yeah, 10 men in the box. Go nuts.
That's certainly fair. But then you go back to the in the box thing, which I know this isn't where you were going with it, but the fact that 8 men in a box, there's actually running backs that do even better against that because it takes one move and you get through the entire defense versus 2 or 3 that you might have to get through. I'm not saying that for your point. Just throwing that out as because people always overreact to the, oh my God, he's facing 8 men in the box, he's going to get destroyed. And yes, it does limit overall, but it also opens up for bigger plays. Like Ken Walker last year and earlier this year, you see a lot of those when you add them stacking the box. So all very good points. I'm with you in the fact that I'm curious what the Jets do because they really haven't been able to stop anybody. Although last week was kind of a disappointment for that matchup. I expected a lot better for not Mostert, for Jeff Wilson to be mixed in. Although, did Jeff Wilson get a little bit towards the end?
He had three.
I forget.
He ended up with like 3 catches for 34 yards in that game, so that was
Yeah,
nice. And he had over 50.
I expected a little bit more.
He had over 50 rushing yards as well, so he had 80 total yards. Like, if you played Jeff Wilson, I don't think you were dissatisfied.
That's fair. Okay.
Like, it's not like you left a 1 on your bench. You put like 11 PPR points, something like that.
No, I had a nice final piece of a parlay that I carried over for. I did a stupid thing, but I just knew with Mostert with no Achane, I carried over a parlay from Thursday to 1 piece left on Friday with Mostert,
And he got it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was sweating it the first 2.5 quarters.
Let's see, what else do we have here? After you get am I too high on Achane at 14 if he plays? Like, do we expect him to continue to be limited? Like, should he be lower, or are you playing him just because he might get 6 carries for 200 yards?
He should, but I would play Stevenson in front of him, given he was one of 4 running backs to have over 20 carries this week. They're back to all Stevenson. But I think as soon as you get past Stevenson, Breece Hall could be top 5, or he could be 25. It really comes down to whether or not he scores. Tony Pollard, I mean, we know he's getting half that workload, and Seattle's defense is better than people might think. I think that's a fair spot for him. I think he deserves to be in this tier of this conversation. Washington, I'd worry about Brian Robinson getting game scripted out a little bit because they did go back to Antonio Gibson last week, so I definitely would not stop any lower than Brian Robinson. That's the lowest I would go with him.
All right, I'll go Javonte Williams, Stevenson, Pollard, Achane.
Okay. I was going to say, yeah, you got Swift against San Francisco. That's concerning.
Yeah, that's tough, and I would like to see him utilized more in the receiving game, but now that Jalen Hurts is healthy again, he's actually just running instead of passing to his running backs.
I know. He ran for a ton.
Yeah, I liked
in
it.
that second half.
Liked it. Won me a lot of money on DraftKings yesterday. It was fantastic news.
Good.
Derrick Henry. Now, this is Paul's behind the camera, and he brought it up. It's D. Henber time, and this is when Derrick Henry starts to go off every single year. But, I mean, Derrick Henry was a part of that lineup that won a bunch of money yesterday. He scored 2 touchdowns and had 20 fantasy points. That's not good by any stretch of the imagination. And he just got Carolina, who, along with Cincinnati, is the worst run defense in football. And he didn't look good at all. I'm worried.
Question mark? So I'm with you. So to bring up Derrick Henry and not to be like, oh, like toot my own horn, but it's part of your concern. So on Sirius XM on Saturday with Meanie, where I was bringing up, and I brought it like Derrick Henry, December Derrick, or how did you say? Henry? December? Hemmer?
D. Henber.
D. Hember. Okay. I like, D. Hember. So I said it's actually going to start a week early this year because of the matchup, because it doesn't get any better than that. But the interesting thing I did, and it still would have hit very narrowly, is what you're talking about here, is like I didn't take the yards. I just took Derrick Henry to score a touchdown. I was like, it's going to happen. He actually scored 2. Your point about this is that he doesn't look like his old Derrick Henry self. He's averaging the lowest yards per carry since his second season, and that was back with DeMarco Murray and, oh, by the way, Marcus Mariota at quarterback when that offense was just kind of struggling as a whole. So I'm concerned as much as you are. It's still December. He gets the Texans twice, which he should average 150 yards on the ground, but I don't think that's him anymore. And they are taking some touches away that continue. The bigger thing is snaps, is that he's just not even on the field. But he's probably going to score if they get close to the goal line. So it's basically, what's the difference between him and Gus Edwards, which the Gus bus finally broke down this week?
Because Gus Edwards
slightly better.
Gus Edwards potentially has to fight with 3 other dudes to score touchdowns, where Henry doesn't seem to. But Edwards plays in a much better. But Edwards plays in a much better offense. So, like, Levis stinks. Man.
No, I think
if Levis didn't have that one game where he was good, we'd be like, he's worse than Zach Wilson.
I'll victory lap that one. I was right after that game. I was like, everybody chill the hell out. Let's talk about what Will Levis did. You remember, we talked about it on this show. Oh, victory lap the crap out of that one. But anyway, I completely agree with you. Derrick Henry deserves to be a mid, probably a little bit lower end RB2 with the touchdown upside. Is that if he gets a touchdown, he's going to finish in RB1. But what if? Just what if? You were talking about, well, Levis stinks. Well, what if, their pass defense has been better, but what if Gardner Minshew comes out and just obliterates them right out of the gate and they're up 20-6, 20-3.
You're done.
And then and Derrick Henry's done. That's why, so there you go.
Yeah.
Fair spot.
Okay, so should I bump him down? Because I have Charbonnet, Warren, Najee, Jerome Ford, Joe Mixon after. Like, you think, should Charbonnet be, because this doesn't have Ken Walker in. So okay. I don't expect Charbonnet to rush for 100 yards in this game. I expect him to catch 7 passes for 35 yards. That seems to be his fate in this game.
Yeah, I don't think, honestly, Charbonnet against Dallas, I don't think is too different than who you have immediately right behind him as Jaylen Warren in a split.
Yeah, Jaylen Warren split. Ford actually looked really good against Denver, and he was involved in 80% of the route participation, which I frankly thought was shocking. But it just didn't translate. This is a much better matchup against the Rams for him.
It is. And I've been a Ford guy, so built Ford tough, yeah. Against the Rams, though, my concern, the good thing is the passing game, which is what I brought up in earlier weeks, but it just comes down to what Rams are we going to get? This could go sideways just like Derrick Henry. Where did you have Ford go? Because I don't have your ranks pulled up because you're waiting for the post to come up. I'm looking right now. Jerome Ford, definitely in front of Mixon. I could see, I know you love Jaylen Warren, but Najee Harris continues to get Najee Harris touches. They won't do it no matter who the offensive coordinator is.
I bet a Najee Harris over rushing prop yesterday, and it hit.
Yeah.
And it hit instantly, too.
You know what's funny is I had Najee Harris in one and Jaylen Warren in another, and they both hit.
Yeah.
So there you go. Against Arizona.
I think Warren, because it's against Arizona, and when you kept pointing out the Kyron Williams stuff, you have to remember, I would be curious to know. Again, I'm just a curious cat over here. How much of a percentage of his fantasy points have come against Arizona this year? I want to say it's 78%.
For just Kyron Williams?
Yeah. All of Kyron Williams' fantasy points.
There was
because he just had 40, and in the game before he got hurt against them, I think that he had 37.
Let's see. So
week 6.
I gotta switch to full point PPR, so you're gonna have to give me a second for that one.
All right.
But the math will still math out. Half point PPR. So Arizona was 21.8 and 35.4, which is 67.2. So 67.2, and he has 140. Look at that on the mark. That is 48% of his fantasy points in those 2 games.
Wait, what?
But again, what?
What did you say? He had 21 and what? 21 and 35?
Yeah, this is half point PPR, but the math for the percentage, the math will still balance out.
So he had
21.8.
So he had 56 fantasy points. He has 100 and how many?
Oh, I went too high. I went to 67 instead of 57. 57.2.
And he has 105
out of 140
total.
41%. 140 total.
He has 140 41%. Fantasy points.
Yeah, because he had 17 against Seattle, 25 against San Francisco, 26 against Indy.
Okay, that still doesn't add up. It doesn't add up to
I'm leaving out this.
I'm
leaving out the 7.5 and the 6.7.
Okay, so 40% of his work is. I mean, it's not to say that he hasn't had good games, but his 2 big games came against Arizona. My point is that you can crush Arizona. Both these guys should crush Arizona.
Sure, but my point being, what I was going back to and say is it's nitpicking, but I would go Harris, Ford, Warren.
Nah, I want to play for the big game. Warren has the big game potential. Harris has the.
Everybody keeps saying this. Do you know who has more carries of 15-plus yards in the season? Najee Harris. He's second,
he gets more
only
carries.
behind Christian McCaffrey.
He gets more carries. You watch the game. You see who's explosive. Plus, he's used in the passing game in better. Najee gets used in dump-offs. Warren runs routes. That's the player that I want that can break the bigger plays. I completely
agree with you.
Then you don't need to fight with me over it. I am playing Warren over Najee Harris. They're both starts, but I prefer Warren. Yes. If I want to score 30 points, I believe that's Warren.
All I've been saying the entire year is the hate for Harris has been too big.
Well, he hasn't been that good. He's been better the past 3 weeks. He was terrible we went through a thing where we talked about him scoring double-digit points for a while. Yeah, he did it like twice.
I
or
know.
something.
I'm just saying it's not the end of. It's not the worst of the worst.
No,
He's not worst place. There you go.
there we are. So Connor at 26. Like this is just a whole. Like after you get past Mixon, like Mixon. I mean, if they offer his prop again of 17.5 rushing attempts, just smash the under on that again. Even if it's at 15.5, continue to smash the under on those because he's just not going to have, unless they like freakishly jump out to a 14-point lead. He's just not going to be in that game script. But now we're just like in a problem area. Like AJ Dillon also reeks. I have him at 27. Like what's best case scenario for AJ Dillon in this matchup against Kansas City? 21 carries for 54 yards and a touchdown. Maybe he gets 5
I wasn't even
catches.
going to give him 21 because you got freaking Patrick Taylor and Jaden Reed getting carries at the backfield. So I wasn't going to give him 21 carries.
But he's still the volume. Like, would you rather play him or James Conner?
James Conner, even though Michael Carter got involved.
Yeah. Devin Singletary at 28. He played 80-20 over Dameon Pierce, but he was not involved whatsoever.
No, the carries were almost split right down the middle. So but you can run against Denver. Denver's run defense is the thing. Their pass defense got better. Their run defense still stinks.
Yeah.
Devin Singletary over AJ. You know what? To go back to your Jalen Warren argument, if I knew one of the two that could score top 15 points, it'd be Singletary.
See, I
It's
don't
not gonna be AJ
see,
Dillon.
I don't think so. Like, I feel like Dillon's because Dillon sneakily, like when Aaron Jones is out, ends up with like 5 targets a game, and that's just not a guarantee for Singletary.
He
Like
still doesn't do anything with them.
It's fine, but he can churn out his Najee Harris game and get 13 points. Where Singletary, you might.
I know,
you might.
but
Just be fair to, 5.
I said top 15.
I mean,
Top 15.
you throw
the opportunity
you
for
throw a touchdown into that mix. Now AJ Dillon has 20 points. Like he could be top 15 easy. It's just he's not good. That's the problem.
Yeah. I disagree on that one. This is your inverse Jalen Warren argument for me.
Yeah, but we're not talking. Devin Singletary isn't Jalen Warren. Is the problem? He's a shitty backup running back.
But when he gets that many touches,
But how is he going to get that many touches with Pierce back?
I'm not saying he's going to get that many touches, but if you give me the exact same amount of touches, which I would expect in this split of this game, which again, you can go, you're talking about 2 matchups. You're talking about the Chiefs versus the Broncos.
Sure, but
take the Broncos matchup.
How many touches did Singletary get on Sunday? 6?
That wasn't the Broncos.
Sure, but that's in the range of outcomes for him with Dameon Pierce back, are just single-digit touches. That's not on the table for A.J. Dillon.
I get that. I'm just telling you, my pure thing is upside only. I think Singletary has a higher ceiling than A.J. Dillon.
I think with Pierce back, I disagree.
Okay. This is your rankings. You don't have to move everything. We do this all the time. You don't have to always move.
I know.
Based on what I say.
I'm not mad at you, Jake. This is part of the show. Antonio Gibson.
Afterwards.
Sure. Zeke and Antonio Gibson. Should Gibson end up being higher now that he's back? He's kind of back into the passing game a little bit. And it's another matchup where I'm guessing they're going to be playing from behind. Unless Miami's offense just absolutely stinks outside in the cold.
Which is possible. I don't know how cold it's supposed to be in Washington, though. I mean, I'm here in Virginia Beach, a few hours south, and it's not even that much difference. But point being, we've been in the 50s. That's not that cold. So, yeah, I mean, against Miami, I'm going to go Gibson because I'm going to go the chances that the Commanders are down early, I would say, are higher than not. And in that scenario, you're going to get Gibson more checkdowns. If Sam Howell's throwing 50 times like he does in game scripts like this, you're going to get a lot. This is one where Gibson could walk out with like 7 receptions in this game alone.
Yeah. So I should bump him above Zeke then?
I would, especially after Stevenson got those 20-plus carries against the Giants last week.
Done. Easy game. Put Antonio Gibson at 32 over Zeke at 33. Let's talk injuries at wide receiver. Justin Jefferson not expected to play on Monday Night Football, but should return after Minnesota's bye week. I think that makes the most sense for them. Listen, if you can somehow beat the Bears on Monday night, I don't want to say firmly entrenched in a playoff spot, but you're looking really good for a playoff spot at that point. You might want to make sure your best player doesn't come back and hurt himself immediately. Give him an extra 2 weeks if you can. It's one game. If you can't beat the Bears without Justin Jefferson, you're going to lose. I mean, they're probably going to lose in the first round of the playoffs anyway, but like you're definitely losing in the first round of the playoffs, like if that's the case. So he's going to be out. We'll see what happens. He's on bye next week. Olave has a concussion. I just assume he's not going to play. Shahid exited the game with a thigh injury. Amari Cooper.
Sorry to jump in. Isn't that Olave's second this year?
I don't remember.
Because I was going to say, or second of his career. Because second, like to your point about how rare it is for someone to return in 1 week, and this is his second. I know it's at least a second concussion. I'm with you. I don't think there's a chance he comes back this week.
Shahid, who knows? We'll have to see the extent of the injury. Amari Cooper hurt his ribs, although Stefanski said after the game like he should be all right. Happened towards the very end of the game, so they just didn't bring him back. Demario Douglas, it didn't even say concussion. It just said head. I don't know if it means he's like getting ahead or like what's going on and it's just going to take a while. I have no idea if he's going to play or not. T. Higgins, who knows? Noah Brown, who knows? Traylon Burks has been out for like, he might not return again this year. He's been out with this concussion so long. Michael Wilson, I have no idea either. Mac Hollins, Kadarius Toney, we'll see if they end up going in week number 13. Mecole Hardman will not because he was placed on injured reserve. Jake, have you bought Christmas presents for everyone yet?
90%.
No.
I don't have yours yet.
You don't have mine? Well, you can send me some Omaha steaks using code Mayo, because not only do you help me by using code Mayo and getting that extra $30 off, you also get 50% off site-wide. But here's the thing. You don't have to leave your house. It gets sent directly to me. So if people have difficult to buy for people, then it's kind of like the perfect gift, right? If they like meat.
I can. This is. Did you time this on purpose? Because the Athletic had a partnership with them, so we got a few and for free samples. And I got the steak with the hamburgers, some pork chops, and something else. I forget what the other one is. We already busted open the hamburgers, and at least off the hamburgers alone, yeah, good stuff.
You went hamburgers over the way. Like, you can get Wagyu.
And I didn't get a choice. I didn't get a choice.
They just sent it to you. The jumbo.
It was the
Franks.
sample pack for. Yeah.
Yeah, Jumbo Frank's quite good. So, I mean, it's not expensive. That's the whole point about it, too. Like, with 50% off site-wide plus another $30 off, there is a minimum purchase that's required. I would highly recommend it. They are sponsoring the show. I should probably point that out. I'm not just bringing this up.
I think people put the two and two together, but I can at least attest. This is one of the ones I can firsthand attest that I would recommend it as well.
Yeah, omahasteaks.com, 50% off site-wide. Code MAYO for an extra $30 off. Go get it right now to make sure that it gets there by the time Christmas actually happens. Because for a Christmas gift, that's like one of the main things that needs to happen. omahasteaks.com. Wide receiver rankings. I have Tyreek at number 1. CeeDee Lamb, A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra, St. Brown, Keenan Allen. Let's say I don't need to list off all the names. You know who you're playing with. 6 teams on bye in week number 13. Let's have a real discussion about like where it gets interesting. I think it gets interesting. I mean, even right here, actually. So you have, because you're going to play DeAndre Hopkins, even though Levis sucks. Metcalf, untrustworthy. Calvin Ridley, who the hell knows? But since Zay Jones has come back, he's been like good. He sits.
I said that the entire year.
He sits out half of games, but then the other half, he's fantastic. So let's go to Garrett Wilson at 17. You're playing Garrett Wilson because you probably have to. Don't trust it, though. I don't trust Cortland Sutton in this matchup. I don't trust Terry McLaurin, who might get paired up with Ramsey. I don't trust Deebo Samuel because he's only good once every 4 weeks. I don't trust Kupp because he stinks. Drake London stinks. Deontay Johnson can't hold on to fucking touchdowns. Thielen is gone. Frank Reich just got fired, so they're not going to be forcing him the ball anymore. Poor Puka, they're just like, hey, we'll run the ball 8,000 times and never pass anymore. Christian Kirk has been okay, I suppose, since Zay Jones came back. Amari Cooper's hurt. Rashee Rice might have 1 target this week for all we know, and Justin Watson gets 300, or they just switch every single week. Maybe it's a Sky Moore week. Like, wide receiver's a problem in week number 13.
That is a problem. And I said, by the way, because I'm surprised Deontay Johnson didn't get more blowback with just staring at the fumble in front of him. It was like, and then walked away. Like, what the hell? That complete aside, I would, because of everything you're mentioning, Deontay Johnson, Kenny Pickett, best game, 0 touchdowns, was 24 for 33 for 200 something. Hit the most yards of the season. Congratulations in your mediocre day being your benchmark for a great game, buddy. But Deontay Johnson, and maybe even we've got Drake London against, you could get Sauce Gardner. I don't like Drake London. The one I'm going to bring all the way up for this is I would play Josh Downs and I would play Jaden Reed over Drake London and everybody behind. I would pull both of them all the way up. Josh Downs, that one play comes back completely different day. And what do you have, like 13 targets in that? It was just an off game that the connection wasn't there at times.
That was the same as
And then
Dortch.
Jaden Reed. Jaden Reed's getting touches out of the backfield.
Yeah, I know. So I like Jaden Reed. Paul, you had something to say?
Oh, just wanted to make a little comment on you saying that it could be Sky Moore week.
It's never Sky Moore
It's
week.
never. That guy was the biggest Ponzi scheme of this year's drafts. 100%.
That's fair. So you'd go.
You just have to wait for next year.
Yeah, you go Debo,
Remember 'cause
Cooper
Rasheed
Kupp,
Rice?
Josh Downs, and then Jaden Reed, then Drake London. Because Sauce
Yes.
doesn't follow people around, so they can get
No.
Drake London off of him.
But they won't for half the game.
Yeah, because they're stupid.
And and it's against the Jets, who you can run against, as we mentioned. We just went through that scenario with the running backs. Why you going to? Well, why you? Why am I talking like that? Why are you going to ask Desmond Ridder to throw 25 times in this game?
Because they won't see it coming, Jake.
Well, that was like the stupid Patriots this past week. Like, why weren't they running earlier in the game? Why are you asking Mac Jones to throw stupid interceptions? And then Bailey Zappi, this is coming from a disgruntled Giants fan who wanted the Giants to lose and not ruin their draft pick even more. But I need a new team, Pat. Am I too old? I'm done with this team. I can't. The stress is too much. I'm done.
You don't need a team. Just gamble on sports. That's your team.
I do that anyway. That's the only reason I don't get more upset these
All right,
days.
well, then gamble more. Then you don't have to worry about any team.
This is maybe you want to put a PSA after that.
Yeah, if you got a problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER, but, you know.
Yeah, get the Kurt Warner PSA that they've been throwing up. Don't chase your losses.
I mean, he kept chasing his losses, and guess what? He became an NFL MVP and Super Bowl winner. Because,
Mic drop.
any reasonable person would have quit when they had to go to Germany.
You only have a problem if you lose.
Yeah,
So,
that's true. Hey,
What do
Pat,
we do? What do we
speaking
do?
of the Packers,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, what are you buying back into Christian Watson? 'Cause
I'm not buying back in, but I'm at 33. Like it's a weak at wide receiver anyway. So I have like Rashee Rice, Brendan Cooks, T. Higgins if he plays. That's probably too high for him. Who knows? Christian Watson, Hollywood Brown, George Pickens, Curtis Samuel, Tyler Lockett, A.T. Perry, who might be the only healthy receiver on the Saints.
Healthy wide receiver?
Him and Kirkwood.
No, don't forget Lynn Bowden.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Remember Lynn Bowden,
I
the
do.
hybrid Dolphins/Raiders? Like he was supposed to be Deebo Samuel before Deebo Samuel was Deebo Samuel.
Except he's half
And
the
not,
size of
'cause he
Deebo
stinks.
Samuel.
Yeah,
That's a problem.
Look, and all jokes aside here with this is that if Demario Douglas plays, I would have him in front of T. Higgins just because the matchup helps, and then he's been super consistent. And then I actually like George Pickens more than Deontay Johnson just because of the connections happen against Arizona. I'd rather take the bigger plays, even though the connections for them have been. Deontay's actually been more inconsistent than George Pickens is. It's just that George Pickens hasn't hit big games that often.
Can you still play Thielen?
You know what? I would give him one more chance that, like, similar to when Josh McDaniels got booted and the switch from Matt Canada, that something just I said this on my podcast. It's not mutually exclusive to say that the owner's name just escaped my mind. The Panthers owner is bat crap crazy. Like
Tepper?
that's clear. But yeah, Tepper, thank you. But at the same time, this whole situation with Reich was doing Bryce Young no favors. I keep comparing it to Matt Nagy. I don't know what he was doing on offense. He was doing nothing to help Bryce Young in this offensive scheming. Now, that being said, the offensive line is a huge problem. But Tampa Bay, they shut down the run. So you're going to kind of force Bryce Young to hopefully try to pass. It is by far the worst pass defense. So maybe something sparks for Thielen this week where I would give him one more chance. You have Adam Thielen at 24. I can see people wanting to argue to push him lower, but I think all those names you've talked about, matchups, injuries, situations, he still deserves to be in that conversation. I would give him one more week.
Would you bump up Mingo?
It was the first game he hit. Where do you have Mingo?
56. I'll bump him up past. I've actually been quite surprised at how well
That's
Tutu.
Robert Woods.
I was going to say, Tutu Atwell's been like pretty good since Stafford came back. They just take 3 deep shots with him a game.
Yeah. I'm not looking to play him, but I would play him over John Dotson.
Yeah.
When Curtis Samuel plays, John Dotson doesn't exist.
All right, so let's bump Dotson down. Good call. Behind Kyle Phillips and Jerry Jeudy? Oh,
Yeah, that's where he deserves to be.
I'll put him behind Jerry Jeudy
Bomb.
ahead of Kyle
my
Phillips.
season.
He did. He was a guy you were all in. At least Howell's been good for you.
That is true. I got plenty of hits. I just have some glaring misses. Just happened to be one of the ones I spoke out a lot about, Jahan Dotson.
Tight ends, Dallas Goddard missed the week, although it looks like he's angling to play this week. I still have him out of the rankings. And then Hayden Hurst, I have him out because he's missed the last 2 weeks with a concussion. Meaning we have Travis Kelce at number 1, Sam Laporta, George Kittle, Dalton Schultz, Trey McBride, Taysom Hill, Pat Freiermuth, David Njoku, Evan Ingram, Logan Thomas, Cade Otton, and Kyle Pitts. Those are your top 12. After that, it's Jake Ferguson, Tyler Higbee, Cole Kmet, Jonnu Smith, Tucker Kraft with Musgrave probably out. Yeah. He's on IR, so he's most definitely out. Gerald Everett, Donald Parham, Tanner Hudson. We lose Kincaid. Knox will be coming back. Kmet is obviously shouldn't be in here because he's not playing. So Kmet is out now too. Michael Meyer is out. TJ Hawkinson is out. Bellinger is out. And Isaiah Likely. Again, this is a worse bye week than I think that people might realize.
Yeah, the running back's the one that's affected the least just because it's Jacobs Barkley and in a bunch of messy situations. But the one I will point out, you don't have to move him now. And as you always say, the ranks will be updated. But Dalton Schultz, at the end of the game, left and didn't come back and apparently got banged up. And he was already banged up heading into that. So I would actually move him down behind Taysom Hill, even if playing, just because of that risk that he's not 100%. Sure. But also, you might end up taking him out altogether.
If he does go out, is there any Texans tight end that you would even consider or just
nope?
Nah?
Nope.
Not Quintero or
Robert Woods time.
Wait, what's that guy's name? I remember he just caught a first touchdown.
Brevin Jordan?
No, Brevin Jordan.
Oh, Tegan Quinton. I can never. I have to look at his last name to know, but it's Tegan Quintentaro or something. Yeah, I have to see the name to be able to say it.
Yeah, Tignataro at tight end for the Texans. Don't play her. You'll be fine. So guys that you can go pick up, if you have a bye week, who could I would assume Higbee's available in 100% of leagues. He's probably going to get 2 points, but at least we know that his upside is 2 touchdowns. We know
Freiermuth
that now.
is the top option.
Freiermuth's owned though, isn't he? Who doesn't own? What league
are
you playing where he's not owned?
He's 40, 50th at the most on Yahoo because a lot of people dropped him and never went back to him because he wasn't even doing too well right before he got hurt, if you don't remember. So Freiermuth would be the top. And then after that, I'd probably, like you said, Higbee and then Tucker Kraft. I mean, I think it's touchdown or bust for him, but what are your other options? Okonkwo and Otton? Yeah. Conklin, as you already have in there.
I would much rather have Otton than Tucker Kraft.
Tucker Kraft? Yeah. I was saying touchdown or bust for him, but outside of
Otton's all right.
Yeah.
Okay. Quarterbacks. Nothing really to speak of in terms of the injury front at quarterback. I mean, some guys suck. Okay, so here's the thing. I have Derek Carr at number 8. I think he throws for 6 touchdowns this week.
Why?
Yeah, because it's happened all year long, and maybe it'll continue to persist. But this is the right matchup. Detroit's defense sucks, and how many times did the Saints move the ball into the red zone yesterday against the Falcons? 8, I think it was, and they came away with 0 touchdowns. Something is going to flip one of these games for Derek Carr. I don't know if it's going to start this week because I have no idea who's playing receiver for them. But you might be able to line up a Derek Carr, Taysom Hill, A.T. Perry stack on DraftKings this week and just print money.
I was just about to say Taysom Hill for the 2 touchdown prop.
Yeah, well, whatever it is, eventually you're just going to luck sack your way into touchdowns.
The regression's all going to smash in 1 week. What if it's Alvin Kamara, 6 touchdown game that 1 year?
But it's not because Derek Carr's the actual one. I mean, that could happen, of course. But Derek Carr's actually moving the ball really well between the 30s, at least. Then they get down and he just gets shits all over himself.
Yeah, it's inexplicable, which is part of the reason I think people are so down on him in this offense as a whole. I'm not going to go that crazy. If he has no Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed, I'm not going to go that crazy like you are. I think you're a little nuts on your Derek Carr there.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
6 or not.
Dak.
Where do you have him?
I have him at 8.
At 8? I wouldn't play him over Russ or Purdy.
I would.
I don't even care if Purdy's going against Philly. I wouldn't play him.
All right. Dak, Tua, Stroud, Goff, Lawrence, top 5. Mahomes, Hurts, Derek Carr, Russell Wilson, Brock Purdy, Sam Howell, Kyler Murray, Justin Ebert, Gardner Minshew, Baker, Stafford, Jordan Love, Kenny Pickett, Geno Smith, Will Levis. So you don't like Derek Carr, but I am solidifying where he's at. Now, if all of the guys are out, I probably will drop him back down. But like, even if one of them plays and they can go Olave and Taysom Hill or Shaheed and Taysom Hill, I would feel better about that.
Okay. Well, and that's certainly warranted, but also what's warranted is that I'm going to do it. I do it almost every week. You should be ready for this, Pat. Sam Howell, number 8, right behind Jalen Hurts. His low end outside of those 2 miserable games is 17 points, because just like what we make arguments for with like Trevor Lawrence from past years or Dak Prescott a long time ago, is he runs. He's running and scores too. He's like 17. The only time he hasn't hit 17 this year was the Buffalo game, which was god-awful miserable. He threw 4 interceptions. And then the Giants game, which in the second time against the Giants, he came back and threw 255 and a touchdown and ran one in. Against Miami, he's going to throw 50 times. Number 8. Put him at 8.
Well, I'm not going to move him ahead of Derek Carr, but he can be number 9.
Okay. Baker's banged up a little bit too. I'd go Stafford over Baker.
He was banged up, but he was able to come back in the game and throw 2 touchdowns. So
I know. Still,
I'm not concerned about his injury at all.
Does he need to throw that much against Carolina though?
Yeah, probably. I mean, it's not like Rachaad White didn't run the ball on Sunday. He had I can't recall Rachaad White ever having 100 rushing yards before.
Has he this year? I know he's been close. I know he's total yards. Quite a few times.
But he had 15 carries for exactly 100 yards. I don't think he's ever rushed for 100 yards before.
He ran for 105 last year, but not this year. Actually, his highest before that game was 73 twice.
There we are. So 27 more than his previous high. So I wouldn't. So even in a really good matchup, I wouldn't expect like that to continue.
Okay.
I do like him this week, Rachaad White, obviously, but I don't think they're going to be like, yeah, here's 25 carries, and they don't use any other running backs, it seems. What happened to Sean Tucker?
I'm so ready for Sean Tucker. I think health was part of the problem. Then getting into the mix, just it's tough to ask a rookie running back to start mid-season and also be banged up and not get the plays. Like like I saw your face, but like he wasn't involved much in the preseason because of the injury, and you're asking him to come off the practice squad and get into that mix, and it's just. It's not. They have Chase Edmonds, who's a veteran, and then Keyshawn Vaughn is the pass catcher. It's just where are you going to put him?
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, you could just have Keyshawn Vaughn not play.
I mean, you could, because what does he really offer? But I think that's the thing is Sean Tucker offers a little bit more of what Chase Edmonds replicates, and he's the veteran who they trust.
That's fair.
Pass blocking is probably part of it too. I'm ready for Jordan Love. I saw him at 17. I'm ready for him to go so sideways after we're getting back into our hearts of enjoying him again, and then it's just going to blow up this week.
Yeah, again, the Chiefs is a tougher matchup too, unless they do exactly what Vegas did against Kansas City, was script out 2 immaculate drives and then just be like, I got nothing left.
That was fun. I was like, wow, are they going to pull up the upset and ruin some of these survivors? And then, nope.
Yeah, no, that was not happening.
That's how you tank Giants.
Yeah, I don't think the Giants have the ability to script 2 good drives and get down the field. Although, at least it was nice to see DeVito passing to Hyatt.
I know. Where did you have Hyatt, by the way? I forget.
They're on bye.
A gamble.
They're on
He's
bye.
worth a game.
They're on bye.
Oh, yeah, that's
probably
right.
Shouldn't play him. Don't play him this week.
No. Do not play. Or
You're not like Jake. Like, play Hyatt this week. He's not high enough for me. I'm like, Jake, you're too high because you don't know the bye weeks.
Play him over Christian McCaffrey. Right there with Kyron Williams.
Defenses to close this out. There's actually a lot of really good options from the pickup tier. Like you have your regulars: Dallas, Miami, Cleveland, Detroit, and the Jets. Top 5. Chargers, Falcons, Pittsburgh, Jags, Chiefs. Then you got San Francisco. Indy is super viable this week. The Bucks are viable. The Rams, Tennessee. Like those bottom 4 are available if you need to go out. And only 26 teams are playing. I've ranked 15. And I'd say 5 to 6 of them are probably sub 20% owned.
Yeah, I would actually go Jacksonville over the Chargers. As a side action.
No. You don't want to do that. You want to be playing the Chargers
defense isn't any good.
It doesn't matter. They get to the passer. They're going to score a few points, and then you get either Zappy or you get Mac Jones, and they're going to give you the ball 3 times.
I would still go Jacksonville. I get your point. Just as an aside for Jacksonville, because I did want to bring them up, because I tweeted about this earlier, I think Sunday or whatever it was, because for your thing about just check to see if you're the league that you can make moves still, is the rest of the season for Jacksonville. Like if you've been playing the Dallas game, Dallas weeks 14 through 16, pretty gross for their defense, even though it is a good defense. But Jacksonville's got Cincinnati, Cleveland, Baltimore, you don't want to play them, but then Tampa Bay and Carolina. 4 out of those 5 games smash top 10.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. Good idea. That's why you're here, Jake, to give people the insight like that.
And argue about rankings and put everybody above Christian McCaffrey.
And there we go. Again, apologies for last week when we didn't do a show. We were sick. It happens. I want to thank Paul behind the camera. Jake, I want to thank you. You got waivers Monday night, rankings on Tuesday night at theathletic.com, which is still just $1 for the year right now.
The rest through midnight tonight, Cyber Monday. So if you're watching this after Monday, sorry you missed out.
Too bad. And then you'll have to hit up Jake in DMs to get the real code.
Get your 30-day free sample.
The Listeners League is down in the description right now. All of the rankings have been updated from what we did on the show, and they will update again every single day to make sure that everything is accounted for in terms of injuries, people playing. Plus, the Mayo Media newsletter has a running tracker updated every morning of all of the latest injury news, whether people are going to be in, whether they're going to be out, expected in, expected out, and the rankings are based off of those. So you might as well subscribe to it. It's completely free to do. Mayo Media Substack. If you just want that sent to you, but you can always go back and check it, even if you're not sub to it, because it is like a web page. All right, smash the like on the way out, sub to the channel, and that will do it for me. I'm Pat Mayo. I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!